Hey everybody, welcome back to Boxcars Garage. And as advertised, I did say I was going to get my car project kicked off finally. Here it is. This is going to be the first working episode of my 1928 Model A. This will be part 2 and the first of a many part series. I'm probably going to do some things that do not work out. So I'm going to do my best to show you the good and the bad, and pretty much how it all played out in the end. We're going to level up the car. We're going to put jack stands underneath the chassis, because what I need to do is, in order to allow me to start making adjustments on my door reveals and my body lines, getting them to line up. That is going to be project 1. Okay, so now that I got the car leveled out, I had to decide how I was going to block up the body. There are specific contact points where my 28 body sets on this 32 frame, and some locations has got a bolt that goes through them. And some locations aren't bolted at all, but there is contact between the top of the frame rail or internal chassis web, let's call it, and the structure that is the body. So within those areas as well, I want to treat those like, a bearing surface, and I don't want them to be able to squeak either. And I also want to provide, constant support to all those contact areas, to where there's less opportunity for them to sag or deflect. I want to have a nice solid floor, stable floor, and no squeaks. So the biggest reason why guys add the cotton webbing in between the body and the top of the frame rails is to keep squeaks from happening and provide some sort of a cushion contact between the two surfaces. This cotton webbing has been around for a really long time. This is kind of a spin off of the old traditional, in that it's got an adhesive back. So this is a really good choice, if you've got a lot of contact, and I believe that there wouldn't be any reason to use it across the entire frame rail or the top of the frame rail. If there's no contact in that area, it's just going to retain water, and I think would promote rust and early rust out of that top surface. So I would think that the most typical application would be of just using this in the contact areas. So, but I don't like the idea of having a cotton product retaining water. I'd like to minimize that, and I think I can do better than the traditional cotton webbing. So another consideration that I had to make was with regards to maybe some of the traditional methods of tying the car down or bolting the car down. Piper, no, don't take that away. The wood kits were the industry standard back in the day when the Model A was being fabricated. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about something that I'm not going to use, and I'm having trouble finding the right words right now. This is examples of wood kits that would be used in traditional Model A applications. This wasn't going to work out for me because I've got a 28 Model A sitting on a 32 frame. For me to have used this concept, I would have had to have reproduced these, which would have been possible, but I didn't see a lot of gain in having these long structural members underneath my body, when I'm really just trying to achieve support in the contact areas. So I'm also going to be putting a metal floor in with this. So back in the day, you had a plywood floor, and you had some metal subrails that that plywood floor would drop into, and you know, maybe some additional support in the form of like these oak cross members and offset brackets. It probably would have made a lot more sense then, because you needed some additional support. I'm going to be doing mine with like 14 gauge steel that I'm going to bend on my brake, and I'm going to fill those in individual compartments that had previously had, you know, plywood in them. I'm going to put steel in mine. So anyway, I'm putting this to the side. I don't need that. But the contact points that I am thinking about, I'm going to use basically rubber wedges to bridge the contact points from the underneath side. No, Piper, my corgi's dying to walk off with one of these blocks and chew it to where you can't recognize it anymore. I've got 4 different types of rubber that I was able to choose from. I had some stuff laying around the shop. I'm going to talk about them really quick. I call this horse mat. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. I believe styles vary. This one has got ribs that go along the length of it. The other side is like a honeycomb pattern. It's extremely dense. It's made out of rubber, and there might be like a fabric matrix inside of the rubber. I'm not sure. It seems to have a little bit of fiber in it, but extremely dense. This is going to be a component of the shim kits that I build for my contact points that I will show you here in a moment. So you can find that at Tractor Supplies or farm retail centers. It's all over the place. It's basically just thick, dense rubber. Another item that I had available to me was, I don't know if this is like a drawer liner or what this is. It's the nominal thickness is about 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16, but it allows for, you see the ribs there, those are going to compress a little bit. So whatever nominal thickness it is, make sure that you account for when you put the squeeze to it, because it's going to change. The neatest thing about this material with the ribs on it is that while the nominal thickness is like somewhere around 1/8, if you was to take 2 pieces and align the ribs where they kind of join into each other like a gear, well then together the unit makes a whole nother thickness, and that's probably like a 3/16 when they're melded together. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility when it comes to building up your stack of shims. A material that adds the ability to interlace it like this right here gives you some additional flexibility in getting your shim just right. So anyway, that was a cool thing I came up with, I believe, with using that as a part of my stack. Another rubber product that I had was, this is actually a tailgate, inside of a tailgate, a protector rubber. It's about a 1/4 inch thick. It does have a fiber matrix within the rubber, and pretty tough stuff. So as far as nominal thicknesses goes, I've got the horse mat is like shy of a 1/2 inch, or it might be a little bit over. It might be 5/8. I don't really remember right now. The tailgate material, this rubber, was like a 1/4, and this was like an 1/8, but then you could make it 3/16. So I thought that those 3 types of material was going to offer me a lot of flexibility in building the stacks of material that I needed for the different contact points, because the cavern area, the space that I was filling in these contact areas, they weren't all consistent. You know, the space varied from point to point, so I had to kind of custom make it all. And then so so I'm not confusing anybody, this happens to be a stack of material that I put together to place in this location right here. Let me see if I can, yeah, let me see here. Let me detach the GoPro and go on it here. So this area is it's a contact area that I want to ensure that there is some sort of isolation between metal to metal from the top part of this frame to the underside of this structural subfloor member. And this is the stack of material that I came up with that I'm going to fill up underneath here, and it's going to provide the offset or the isolation between this member and this beam right here. And that's just going to it'll add immediate support to the underside of this right here. Now, this subfloor is strong. It's like 13 gauge, 13 or 14 gauge, I think, is what I found it to be. It's probably not going to offer a whole bunch of flex, but I'm just going to, as a standard practice, I'm going to isolate all the contact points with a rubber material. Some locations will be drilled, and there will be a bolt that will go through the stack before it makes contact with the nut that's been welded into the top of the rail. In some locations, like in this one right here, there is no hole here. This will not have a bolt going through it. It's going to be secured in place. Okay, so not to beat this horse to death, but I didn't have any good underneath shots to, really eliminate any confusion out there. This isn't high tech by no means, and I'm not trying to make it harder than what it is, but this is what I was talking about doing. You can see this is an intersection that exists. This is a K member that we fabbed up when we built the chassis. And the subrail that goes from left to right underneath the driver's seat area, let's say, it was just hovering above that K member. And I thought, if I was to create a contact point there, I could, maybe add some sort of support for that subrail member as it goes from left to right. So anyway, that's the wedge that's up in that area. And I'll have to hold that in place somehow, and I haven't got that sorted out yet. But the over here, this is in the threshold area of the driver's side door, and there's not a lot of material there. There's just two of the thinner layers, and then. Sorry about the bad camera work here, but I'm on my back here. So the B pillar, you can see this is the pad that was left there, and it's tapped. It's got a hole in it right now. It needs some more material there in order to act as a standoff, like I talked about before. But we had to pull that one out because it was way too much. Well, I say way too much, probably about 1/8 of an inch too much, and 1/8 of an inch really, it played havoc with the door alignment. So we pulled it out, and things got much better for us. I'm going to call phase 1 complete with the pads and establishing the separation. I'm going to call phase 2 is going to be door fitment, and that can get into other aspects other than just shims. You know, that could be tweaking the hinge. That could be a lot of different things. So I'm going to call that a completely different phase, and I'm going to wrap this one up right here. And with any luck, maybe I can show you the gap between the top of the chassis rail and the body, and you can, you know, gonna get an idea of what we did, what our addition did. So let me spin this back around and get some light here for you, and we'll look at that real quick. You can see I still got, I loosened up a little bit. I could torque that bolt down, and I could probably pull that down another 1/16. I probably got a 1/16. I'm a 1/16 low on my door right now. So, and the other side is about the same. So as far as what we ended up with, let me see if I can get a picture of these gaps here. So there we go. So that's just in the front part, we just got a single ply of that 1/8 inch material with the ribs. That was going to basically establish the baseline gap. So all the other stacks were to achieve, you know, filling up that area, plus give us an extra 1/8. Now, this right here, this A-pillar area, it may, I don't know. I don't think we overfilled it. But I might be able to lower that a little bit, and that might fix some of my door issue right now. I'm not sure. I'll try to slide along here. I don't know if these, apologize for the bad camera work. This is, there we go. I'll try to give you a good angle and go all the way across. So I'm going to call phase 1 complete. We got all of the rubber added to the contact points, and overall it worked out pretty well. We had to go back and deal with an area of the B-pillar. Maybe it was we had too much material underneath there and it threw the door way off. But I do have some door fitment that I'm going to have to work with, so I'm going to call that a second phase, and I'm going to call phase 1 done. Yeah. So overall, pretty good progress. It's a good point to regroup. Hope you enjoyed the video. Had some guest appearances in this one. Buddy of mine, RD, and then my daughter made an appearance today delivering lunch. So, and then of course we had Piper Doodle. She showed up and was her normal self in the video. So anyway, thanks for watching the video.